topic for today is affiliate site projects for the beginners who are already SEOs and they are working on the market on SEO. Maybe they are in the agency or maybe they are in-house in some projects and they want to start some side gigs and to make some side money and maybe try themselves in affiliate. So with reference to that, can you tell more about yourself? I know you are very well versed in affiliate.
So my name's Craig Campbell, first and foremost, and I'm based in the UK. Now, I've been in the industry for 18 years, probably about 13 or 14 of those years I've been an agency owner and just general learning and doing client work and everything else. But in the last probably 5-6 years, I've been heavily into affiliate, mainly because I wasn't really enjoying running an agency or doing client work. I think that had run its course for me personally. I was always watching guys like Matt Diggity and various Matthew Woodward and loads of other guys making decent money without all of the hassle of, chasing clients or educating clients and doing all of that stuff. So I decided to go down that affiliate route, and eventually, it was probably about 2015, I started to build some of my own websites, and I've done very, very well from that. And these days, I now buy and sell a lot of online digital assets, whether that's a very small website where someone's put on a lot of content and I can go in, buy that off of them and scale it up and then flip it on. So I do buy and sell a lot of different online businesses these days and thoroughly enjoy that side of things. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Where did you start? So what was your first step when you decided to try some affiliate?
I started off very, very small. So it was mainly like hosting affiliates and stuff like that I was playing around with. I was seeing other people making money, and I seen Matthew Woodward, and he was doing like hosting affiliates. He was doing SEMrush and various other tools. And for me, I looked up a lot to Matthew at the point I think many people have done or probably even still do to this day. So it was mainly using my own website and trying to promote tools, hosting, and various other bits and bobs. Different tools like trying to think of some of the ones I've made some decent money with, Money Robot and things like that. I've made decent money with. So that was the kind of starting out, just trying to sell other tools. And I'd done reasonably well from it until there came a point where I was like, right, you can actually make more websites and actually make websites out there to do this. So essentially that's what I wanted to do, was then go on and launch my own projects. And actually, give me a second and I will show you something. I don't want you to promote the URL, Alessia, to the public. You know what it's like. You don't want someone seeing your money websites. Is one of the projects that I've got. I started this, as I say, midway through 2015. I'm just going to filter this by month rather than days. And you'll be able to see that the revenue through this particular website over the last 5 or 6 years has been $16 million. Now, I started in 2015. I started off pretty well. I got to about $8,000 a month. 55, 56, 119. And obviously when there's Google updates, I dipped away back down, then I went up and it stagnated, went up again, a little bit down, just with Google updates and stuff. But going into this year, the website's averaging probably around about $300,000-$400,000 a month. I don't make all of that profit because it still is an affiliate website. It's an e-commerce website and it sells digital products. I'm blanking out the domain name purely because negative SEO and everything else, but that's something I started to build out round about the middle of 2015. And you'll be able to see I started off reasonably well and started to invest more money, more time. Obviously, there's ups and downs with any business and obviously Google updates and everything else, but you can see that I've been able to get that working reasonably well. Even at one point last year, April, this is COVID, one of the months of April 2020, I actually got $523,000 in a month, which was amazing. That was the best ever month. And obviously, if you're looking at this, you're going, what the hell's going on here? There was a problem with analytics or the tracking code, so that fell off. But on average, the website's doing about 300-400 grand a month and has been consistently since November, round about here actually, round about September 2019. And obviously it is my goal to be able to get that up to round about $500,000 a month consistently. So that's one of the projects that I've got. As I say, it probably runs at about, after all my costs for developers and obviously the costs of the products that get sent out, I probably make about 35% profit on those figures, and that's taken me 5 or 6 years to get to that level, and a lot of investment and a lot of ups and downs along the way.
That's like really wow. Thank you for sharing. How did you find this program? How did you find where to sell your traffic, your leads?
The thing is here, it's simply gaming codes that I sell. Now, to find, and I'll tell you the reason why I was looking for a digital download. I had tried the e-cig business. I had tried drop shipping. I've tried every type. I've even had an e-commerce business where I held the stock. I used to sell women's clothing. Now, a lot of them failed for one reason or another. You know, the e-commerce where I actually held women's clothes, there was a lot of returns because women buy things and then just return them, no problem at all. Now, when you're working in such small margins, that eats into my profit. So because of the nature of that business, it wasn't good. So I then went on and I'd done e-cigs. And again, there was a lot of legal problems. So I couldn't do Facebook ads, couldn't do Google ads while my SEO was kicking in. And I was also struggling to be able to take payments. PayPal were the only people that were prepared to take payments because it's nicotine and the laws in the UK, I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but the banks and stuff just would not take payment for e-cigs. And I tried a couple of other businesses, drop shipping and stuff, but I had problems with suppliers and whatnot. So I was looking for a digital product, you know, so that when someone buys it, it's instantly downloadable. It doesn't get lost in the post. It very rarely gets returned. There's no middleman. There's no one to basically balls things up. So I was always looking for digital products. And for me, when you've got digital products, you know, it takes a lot of stress out of the equation. And that's where I looked to the gaming niche. And people are buying games every day of the week, you know, for their computers, whether it be PlayStation, PC, Xbox, whatever. And I'd done the research and I thought, this is amazing. And obviously you've got suppliers out there based in India who have a much lower cost per living and everything else. So the cost of the product is significantly less from them than it would be in the UK. And it was obviously digital downloadable. So it ticked all of the right boxes in terms of volume, in terms of keyword research. Deliverability was amazing. You know, it's just instant. And there was enough money there for me to make a significant margin as well. And that's the key part of affiliate marketing, is to make sure, you know, I've done Amazon, I've done lots of different things, but me doing Amazon for 3%, it's just not worth my while. Like, how can I afford good content? How can I afford good links? How can I afford a good website or good PR or anything else? You can't when you're working on a 3% margin. So that's why I was always looking to something that was going to give me overall at least 35%. And this one has got the volume, and, you know, just a lot of the stress is taken away because people just get their game and they're happy.
That's true. But so for some people, it can be a struggle to find something like that, because some of these partnership programs, they are not regular. Did you find more of them when you were networking or somewhere else, or did you just browse them online or in Facebook groups?
I mean, I done all of that, to be honest. I've been watching many people for many years in this industry, watching everything they do, how they make money. And, there are partnership programs that are garbage. Mine's is a deal between me and this company. There's no middleman partnership program or whatever. I've done partnership programs in the past, and again, they're taking their fee, and the margins are, split. And for me, I think another problem with some partnership programs is they've got affiliate managers in place who are there to try and find ways not to pay you, or if you're exploiting a loophole or whatever it might be, they're looking for a way not to pay you. So I try not always just look for private affiliates, but looking in Facebook groups, networking with people, and I know you've been here, Alessia, but you even go to somewhere like Chiang Mai SEO. A few years ago, I was there, and I was speaking there, and you just hear some of the guys talking at the bar of how they're making money, and that opens your mind up to other opportunities. You're just like, fuck, I never thought of this niche, or I never thought of that way of making money, or I never thought of doing this. So I think networking is a big part of it. And, we have a lot of mutual friends in the industry, all of which target different niches. We don't have to be competition. And, that's the great thing about when you're an SEO in an agency or wherever you are. Sometimes you think, I'm not going to go network because that guy might steal my idea. There's millions and millions of ways to make money. You go to Chiang Mai or any other event, and there's people sharing amazing amounts of knowledge, niches, ways of making money, strategies, everything, because there's so many different opportunities for us all out there. So again, I think I've been lucky enough to surround myself with some great people who have given me ideas and just ways to make money. And as I say, I was doing it the same way as everyone else at the start. I was doing the affiliate programs and doing Amazon and all the kind of crap that's out there. And of course, you can still make good money doing that, but I always wanted to be the best and make as much money as I possibly could. And I've got 2 websites like this that make me the majority of my income, which just allows me the freedom to then look for other opportunities. And I think, I've made, just to be very clear, I have probably wasted millions of pounds on ventures that failed massively, massively, and I've lost so much money. I've been fortunate that I had a couple that actually worked, which I was able to fund these other ventures. But make no mistake, you potentially can fail and fail miserably. But the type of guy I am is, if I don't win at something, I'll adapt my approach, try again and try again and try again until I'm successful. So I have had way more failures in the affiliate marketing space than I've had winners in the early days. But obviously now, when I'm looking at projects and websites to get involved with, I'm doing that due diligence and thinking of everything that could go possibly wrong. To give advice to anyone out there, 1, don't jump into a seasonal niche. 2, try and make sure that you're selling products that are over $100. It costs you the same amount of time and effort to do an affiliate for something that sells for $5 than it would to sell a product for $500. So that's where it becomes, you just have to use your brain and learn from your experience. I was doing stuff at the golf website, and the average product sale was $20 or something, but it cost me the same amount of money to get the content made. It cost me the same amount of money for links. It cost me the same time and effort for all of my tools. Why the hell would I want to sell £20 products when it's all costing me a lot more money? So niche selection is one of the biggest things you need to look at, and making sure that although the commissions might be low, as long as it's a high ticket item, it can still work if you get that volume. So, I think picking the right niche and making sure it's not seasonal and stuff like that are just good things to look at initially.
Thank you. What's better, affiliate or lead generation?
It's a difficult one to say, actually, because I know so many guys that make so much money from both. I've always I'll give my honest answer. I would rather do affiliate. That's me personally. Now, lead gen can work very well, and I've got friends who make millions of pounds doing lead gen. However, a lot of that lead gen comes down to GMBs and local SEO. And for me, it's a volatile market. The loopholes within GMB that people have been fortunate enough to be able to exploit over the years are always getting patched. People are losing their GMBs. I just think for me, lead gen is a bit of a gamble. I know you can do mass page spam and people know how to make things stick and stuff like that, but my fear is that Google are always just looking to slam anything. So a lot of the guys that have got lead gen, have hundreds of websites. And of course, they're not always located at the premises that are on their GMBs because they have just got that verified one way or another. And, that for me, that's just an accident waiting to happen. You could wake up one day and already you could be making a lot of money, but it's just a whole lot of stress and cost and hassle, and Google are looking at ways to kind of flush these kind of guys out of the market, so to speak. So personally, I think affiliate's just a lot easier.
I once lost about 1,000 GMBs in one night.
That's exactly why I stay clear of it, because I've got so many friends that's happened to, and you're just like, oh man, you've put so much time and so much effort into making money with those, and they just drop like that. And it's very frustrating. So I've always just been kind of scared of lead gen, so to speak. So I don't do a huge amount of it.
So you've picked up the niche and you've decided on some affiliate program maybe. And how many websites do you make to enter the niche?
Probably just one. It depends what you're calling websites. Of course, in any niche, I'm probably slightly more aggressive and more black hat than other people. So I may have multiple PBNs or whatever. And if you want to call them websites as part of that niche, then, sometimes it can run into 10, it could be 20, it could be 100. But primarily, I would always just try and attack any niche with one big website to begin with. If you have to use PBNs, in the niche that I'm in just now, or that one, we have to use PBNs because everyone else is, and you've just got to have multiple websites. We also rely on other affiliates who we give an affiliate income to make money as well. So again, there's more websites on the plate there. So the more websites you've got, or the more budget you've got to be able to do that, the more money you can make. But in general, if I'm entering a niche, I just want one big website that is easy to manage and everything else. Obviously, PBNs or whatever else surrounding that are all just other assets, but that isn't going to be the same for every single niche. So if I was just going to do affiliate, for example, for, I don't know, some hosting company or whatever, that's something I could just stick on my blog, make one page, try and rank it for, a couple of hundred keywords, and hope that was going to make me, a couple of grand a month on sales. So you don't need to have multiple websites, is the honest answer. But in certain niches, and I'm sure some of the people watching, if you're in gambling or porn or pills or anything like that, then sometimes it's wise to have multiple websites, and you're going to have a clean website right here, and then you're potentially going to have a few other burner websites that you may use more aggressive strategies with just to get traffic and all that initially and see what happens. So it's a hard one to answer for everyone, but yeah, I'm sure you'll get the gist of what I'm trying to put across.
And how big is that one big website? How many pages, how much content, how much of everything?
I think it obviously evolves over a period of time. If I get a project, so here's the way I think about a project just now. If you proposed a project to me just now and you said, Craig, here's a great opportunity, here's a niche, here's all the research, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. I would potentially spend 5 or 10 grand initially on content, quite an aggressive content strategy. What's that going to get you in terms of pages? That depends on, again, the competition, because people are looking at Surfer or POP to see how many, how that content length is going to be. But spending 5 or 10 grand is nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's likely to give you 100 plus pages minimum. And from there, the way I see it is, see how that performs. Do you need to make more pages? The answer is potentially yes. For some of my websites, I've got thousands of pages on them now, but that's something that's taken me 5 years to build up. One, I didn't have the money at the time to be able to do that. And two, that's just not how it works. You're looking to get into a niche that's, just get tons and tons of keywords. So it's always progressing. You're always adding new content, always targeting new keywords so that you get the ability to scale in that business. That's what I'm always looking for. I don't particularly want to go into a niche where I'm selling one product and it's only going to require, a 10 or a 15-page website. I'll need something that's got the ability to scale, because eventually, with affiliate, I want to get out of the particular project that I'm on, but I need that scale to then be able to flip and get out. And also, what is attractive for other people when they buy that they have to be able to see that it can be scaled further. So, there's no point in exhausting, going into a niche with a 10 or a 15-page website, and there's no ability for someone else to come in behind you and scale that up, because then you're not going to get the money that you should when you want to sell the website. And at the end of the day, we all probably should be looking at affiliate with a view to jumping out at some point. Now, I've got the website I showed you there, and I could potentially sell that for 40 times the monthly profit that I get for that, which would be millions and millions of pounds. And people say, why don't you sell it just now? I don't want to. I think there's a lot more to come from that website. And two, I think, it funds a lot of the other opportunities that I've got. But also, if there does become a time where I have to, I'm going to sell that website. I just need to assess my own hunger and desire. And if I start to feel that waning, then I will decide I'm going to run for the hills. I'm going to sell this and run for the hills with the money, and someone else can take on the project and scale it out further if they've got a bigger team or a better team or whatever than me. So that's always at the back of your mind. So, websites should always have the opportunity to have hundreds, if not thousands, of pages on there, if you really want to make the big money.
And you've shown the successful project, and I'm sure you have lots of them, but what's the ratio of successful projects and unsuccessful projects in your experience?
For me personally, I have had probably, bear in mind, this is when I was learning and developing. Entering affiliate, I probably had a 10% success rate. Nowadays, I would say it's a lot higher, probably 70 or 80% success rate, because of the failures that I have actually turned me into, or turn my processes and the things that I invest in into kind of a fairly well-oiled machine. So everything I get involved in now, I would probably say 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10 are successful. And I only really get a couple of failures. Now, everyone that has the opportunity to have failures here, but when I was starting out, just with the lack of knowledge, lack of affiliate knowledge, just I was also quite an impulsive guy. I was just jumping into affiliate because I thought it was a cool thing to do, and I didn't really understand a lot about it. And at that point, everything I touched was garbage, and that's where it would have been that 10% success rate. I probably, I had I've got 2 websites that I've still got to this day that I've kept hold of that are really successful. But in that initial first, 5 years or whatever, I have probably had, another 15, 20 absolute failures of websites out there. And I've had a couple there that have been middle of the road and I've flipped on for money and stuff. But I had a lot more failures than successes to begin with. But hopefully I've pivoted that on its head, touch wood, that I continue to get that success now. I just think, money can't buy experience, and money, and I wouldn't change it. I've lost a lot of money on projects, but I wouldn't change it because I see that as part of my development or my apprenticeship or whatever way you want to look at it. So I think sometimes you've just got to feel the pain and find out then from there which direction you want to go in.
What's the typical investment for one project?
For me personally, I would probably go in for a minimum of 20k. Now I'll explain that. Typically for me, when I'm entering a new project, I will spend around about 10 grand on a project, on a website. Now, the reason I spend that initial 10,000 is to buy a project that's already up and running, that's already making money, that's already got content, and it's probably earning around about £200 or £300 a month. Now, why do I want to start there? Well, I don't want to be starting from scratch, doing all the content and all of that, because I think it's easier for me to get quick success when someone's kind of got a niche that's already making money. So I invest like 10 grand in a website, but typically when I buy that, I'll spend another 10 grand. 5 of that will be in content, 5 of it will be in links. And hopefully with that spend, I can typically flip a website for anything between 50 and £100,000. So for an overall investment of round about 10 grand in a website and 10 grand on the content and the links, for a 20 grand spend, I can normally get anything between 50 and 100 grand, depending on the niche. If I sit on it for 6 to 9 months, that is the typical way that I try to do it. Now, people often say to me, why do you not invest £100,000 in a website or whatever? Now, I could, but if I'm investing £100,000 in a website and £100,000 in content, that website's going to have to be sold for 500,000 or £1 million. Now, trying to sell a website for 500,000 or £1 million is quite difficult. Whereas selling a website for between 50 and £100,000, people are buying them up all day long. So the reason that I invest £20,000 to try and make up to £100,000 is it's a no-brainer for me. I can easily get that. And these websites are very quick and easy to flip. When you start selling websites for 250,000, 500,000 or whatever, it's a much harder sale, and there's legal people and all of these other things that go on in the background, because that is just what happens when you hit that level of money, and there's a lot less buyers at those figures. So I think for me, I've always stuck to that between 10, 15, £20,000 investment overall and flipping them on. I just think that's the kind of perfect part of the market, that I can get speed and I can get multiple projects running at the one time whilst getting a decent return on my investment. That's what it's all about. Even in the worst case scenario, if I invest £20,000 and I only get 50,000 back, I've more than doubled my money. So it's a no-brainer. And I think anyone, if you're able to do that at scale, and if you've got the right processes and the right team, it's it's the same way. The way I look at it is, it's like these guys in the real estate business. They buy properties under the market value. They'll go in, they'll fix the roof, they'll do whatever, give it a lick of paint and whatever, and then flip it on at a massive profit. It's the exact same thing with websites, but the price and the investment from me has to be at the right part of the market. Otherwise, my ROI has an impact. So that's the kind of way that I look at it on a project-to-project basis.
Do you have a big team who manages everything you do with your websites, buying, selling, making content, making links?
Yeah, so I have actually got 6 people in the physical office in Glasgow, but I do have a number of other people who work offshore or remotely. So I've probably got a team of about probably 11 or 12 just now. I'm looking to hire 2 new people for a certain part of the business, but so I'm probably going to be up to about 14 people overall. But yeah, that essentially I've got content writers, I've got people, who do web design, I've got people who are basically middle managers who watch, monitor, and talk to the people that we outsource to and everything else. So the kind of people that are based in my office in Glasgow are kind of middle management type people who are in charge of VAs that are underneath them to be able to work on the projects that we've got. So personally, I don't want to be doing the heavy lifting. I just see this now as investment, really. And I love SEO and I still play with SEO and I still go in the websites and everything, but you ain't going to be catching me doing the internal linking or doing the content or doing the title tags or any of that garbage. I've done that way too much over the years. So I don't do the heavy lifting at all.
Do you find those people yourself? Do you interview them yourself, or do you have a special person for that? Human resource manager or something?
I do have people that sometimes interview for me, but in general, I think when it comes to SEO, I'm the strongest when it comes to SEO in my company. And for me, I want to be interviewing those people. Now, again, where do I find these people? I've found people all over the world. I've met people at events and just had a conversation with them over a beer, and I'm like, man, come and work for me. and I've hired people in the most bizarre places, but it depends on what you're looking for. I think in terms of the way I look at it, in terms of development and real technical ability, Eastern Europe is really good for that type of stuff. I've got content writers that are also in Eastern Europe who are very good with English. I'm not going to hire an Indian or a Filipino to do great content purely because it's not their first language and it doesn't make sense to do so. But in terms of certain other parts of the process, I have got Filipinos and stuff like that. For certain things, like the heavy lifting and data entry or whatever you want to call it. So different people for different things. Where do you find them? You've got onlinejobs.ph where you can find Filipinos. You've got Upwork. There's just so many places where you can find these people, but also looking at the kind of people on Facebook groups and everything, you start conversations with people and they're like, yeah, I'm really good at schema or, or whatever it's going to be. And you're just like, oh, no, fuck this. Can you come and work for me? Can you do this for me? And hire them, either on a full-time basis or per job basis. And for me, I'm just always just looking to find who's the best at a particular thing. And I'll go out my way to try and get them to work for me, as I say, on a job basis, or try and hire them full time if I'm going to need them full time. And I think, even when we've had conversations between me and you, obviously you're more knowledgeable on the kind of knowledge graph stuff and all that stuff. And I've looked to Jason Bernard and various other people because they're always going to be stronger than me in that area. And that's where I'm going to lean on people for advice or get them to do it for me or whatever. Now, obviously, when it comes to the knowledge panel and stuff, I think that's something you have to do yourself. But if you see a guy that's really good at schema or a guy that's just really good at doing content and adding all the affiliate stuff in and, everything else, then go and hire them. It doesn't matter whether it's in a Facebook group, in a bar, at a conference, just, people are open to working with you. And I've found many people at bars and stuff like that, which is a bit bizarre, but I'm not that fussed on where someone's from, as long as they can do the job that I need them to do.
Okay, so what's a good price for an affiliate content? You're looking for people, and so so you need to invest less and get more profit, but how good should the content be and how much should we pay for it in English?
the price really does vary when it comes to affiliate content. On average, people will charge between 4 and 6 cents per word for fairly good content, but that can go up to 10 cents a word if you want like high-end stuff. Now, the problem I have, or the way that I think, is do you need amazing content for affiliate? No, I don't think so. So I'm just trying to get the balance between what is passable in terms of looks and what is passable in terms of Google understanding that content and, and making profit. Because of course, any of the content on any of my websites, someone could say that could be better. Of course it could, if I had Shakespeare writing the content, or some wordsmith or whatever. But I'm working and working with people who are on lower salaries or lower skill sets or whatever. So I think you've just got to get a happy medium. And I think between 4 and 6 cents is probably the going rate if you're looking to buy content. I'm not going to say how much it should cost per article, because that goes into a whole different argument. Because for me, in terms of content strategy, we look at the competition and use Surfer or POP to analyze how much or what the length of each article should be. There's not just like, Craig, going by 100 1,000 word articles. That's not how I work. So some could be 700, some could be 1,200, some might even be 2,500 or whatever. I think that's the way you've got to look at it. But I think, it's very difficult. I think you've got to, I see a lot of failures when people don't invest properly in the right content. They will use a Filipino or an Indian, or they'll use hire writers or some, garbage service where you can, of course, get articles for $10, but they're just not good. They're just not good enough. And for me, the balance of how much time is someone going to have to take to edit that to make it work for me in a website against what I'm prepared to pay. So, but as I say, between 4 and 6 cents is the kind of going rate in the UK anyway.
Do you check if the content is good yourself, or do you have a person who does that for you?
No, I've got a person who does that for me.
So we'll be having people who are not non-natives. They are non-native English speakers. So the English is not their native language. How can they check if the content is good enough or not good enough?
I mean, I think you have to hire someone that is native, and it's in that middle management part. The people that I've got in the office are native English. They speak the same language as me. And those are the ones that are checking the quality of that content and stuff like that. Now, obviously, you've got the ability to also use tools like Grammarly and stuff like that, but nothing beats a middle manager just, going through it and checking for quality and trying to keep that quality as high as we can possibly get it. So that happens in the office. I just wouldn't have the time to sit and analyze that all myself. But there's tools, as I say, like Grammarly and stuff that help along the way in terms of grammar and punctuation. But I think you need a human being to actually read it and say, right, this can work. And that person in the office also, is fairly proficient when it comes to SEO. So they know that it could have more subheaders or whatever. They're looking at it from an SEO point of view. And again, it really comes down to having the right processes and the right people in place as well. Because if your processes teach the writers to do the job, probably 90 to 95% right, then your processes are probably on point. There will always be tweaks, there will always be mistakes, but I think, you just need to have a look at your processes and who you've got in these middle management positions to make sure that that's a well-oiled machine.
What's the cost of this middle position to get one?
So the people in here are going to be on anything between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. It depends on the level of experience and stuff like that. You're not going to get someone who's middle management position working for 15 or 18 grand a year. That they just don't exist. So you're always going to have to pay them probably 25, 30, 35 grand to get to that level. And that's what it's all about. It's just trying to pay people and surround yourself with the right people. Pay them well. Do not scrimp and scrape. If you need to pay more for a good member of staff, then pay more for them, because they're worth their weight in gold, really. In the past, I actually made mistakes where I've not paid people as well as I should have, and lost members of my team because of that. And they were quite happy doing the work that they were doing, but I just wasn't as good at making money back at that point, and didn't pay them probably the appropriate money. So I think, you've just got to, depends on where these people are based. It's going to be different for everyone, but in the UK, 25, 30, 35 grand is probably a reasonable wage to get someone like that.
When you flip a website, the people you hire, do you share profits with them?
Yes, yeah, they would be on a profit share, fairly small profit share, but yeah, they would probably get a good bonus from that in most occasions. But yeah, I think it's always nice to be nice and good to your staff. And the people that work for me tend to work for me for years and years and years. I don't have a high turnover of staff anymore because I try and pay them well, treat them well. That's just the way it's got to be. I think we're all here to make money, and I rely a lot on these people, so it's always good to share money with them if they've been working on the project and helped get it to the place it needs to be.
Let's talk about link building. It's some say that it's the biggest part of the investment in a website in some niches, so where they work particularly well. What would you say in most of your affiliate projects? Do you spend a lot of link building?
I think you have to. Certainly, when I'm looking at my affiliate projects, when I'm buying a project, I'm looking for someone that's probably went all out in content and they just don't understand the link building side. So I normally have to go in fairly heavily with the link building, because that's the part where most people fail. So yeah, I mean, obviously getting generic links, then going after niche relevant links, then PBNs, tiered link building and everything else, niche edits, the full works. It has to come out in certain niches that you're in. But yeah, I think link building is still probably the biggest ranking factor, or one of the biggest. You can argue that content is the biggest, but it's one of the most important things. And the part of SEO that I really love doing is the link building, just coming up with different ideas, different strategies, different ways to build links. And again, I think you've got to invest wisely in link building, especially from the get-go, just to get that domain authority up and get some power going to those pages that are already there. And I think for me, hitting that quite hard at the start is quite important. A lot of people want to spend a couple of $100 a month on links. And we all know that you'll be lucky to get two links for, it's probably on average £100 a link. Is what you're going to be paying. So I think you've got to take link building seriously. And I see so many people failing, and people come to me for consultancy and whatnot, and they'll be like, "Look at this," and I'm just like, "Dude, like, what's going on? Like, you're not invested any money in links." And they're like, "No, I'm getting to that soon." And you're like, "Well, why have you asked me to look at this? You've not even done the job properly." So I think link building scares a lot of people. A lot of people are falling for the Google will ban you, or Google will, whatever. I've never really believed in all of that kind of stuff. And I think any sensible SEO that I know builds links, and that's it. That's all there is to it. You just buy them, bribe people for them, talk to people who've got links or whatever it's going to be. It's not that hard to get. You just got to get as many as you possibly can that are relevant, that actually get traffic. I think one of the biggest things for me when I talk about link building is I want links from websites that are relevant to my niche, and also from websites that actually have traffic and rankings themselves. I think those links pass a lot more power and a lot more authority. But everyone's got an opinion on link building. It's just whatever works for the individual. But for me, I'm a big believer in being quite aggressive with it.
How many links do you build yourself, and how many do you buy with services usually for a project?
So for me, I actually own a couple of different link building services, so I don't have to buy them as such. I would though, and I have done in the past. I think probably it's hard for me because I'm not the same as everyone else. I think in general, you would probably have to spend about 80% of your budget on buying links. For me, I'm in a fortunate position where I know a lot of people in the industry, so I can use my contacts to get link opportunities. So, I'm maybe not as high as that kind of percentage because I can call in a few favors, exchange links, do whatever. So I'm in a slightly different position than your average person because of the people I've networked with and have met over the years. But in general, most people are pretty much spending all of their money on actually buying links or doing some form of automation. I think, does anyone do outreach themselves? Of course, there's guys that do outreach themselves, but they tend to be working for link building companies. Anyone I know that does affiliate marketing ain't spending time jacking around doing outreach or messing around trying to trick someone into giving them a link. They'll just go and buy it from a guy. They'll just speak to people. Where's the best guy for legal links, or where's the best guy for this? And they'll do that, and then they'll go away after that and power the hell out of those links. So if I buy guest posts, it gives me the ability to buy niche edits, which I can point to the guest posts. I could use automation, which I can point to the guest posts. So yeah, you're going to be spending a lot of money on guest posts, if not all of your money, the biggest majority. And my problem, or not my problem, my theory here is you could spend time building links in the form of building PBNs or whatever. Now, it probably cost me about $400 to build a proper PBN. Or I can just go and pay a guy £100 to get on his. So you have to think about the time against the money that you're spending. So I can get links cheaper by just going and paying a guy, $100 or whatever. So it's easier at that point just to use them rather than me spending hours doing outreach or building PBNs or doing anything else like that. So you've got to weigh that up as well, to calculate your cost. What could you do with that time? So I think that's something you have to look at.
You've mentioned you're running a few link building services, right?
Yeah.
What's more profitable, link building service or affiliate business?
Affiliate business is much more profitable. I've been fortunate enough, I've got my own link building service, but I've been very close to Gary Wilson, who owns Links for You. And I've had other friends who've also got link building services. Now, when it comes to services, the money is okay, but there's a lot of cost for a link building service. You've still got to pay people for placements, and you've got to pay for content. You've got to, it's not a huge, it makes money, I'm not going to lie, but there's a lot of stress and also potential middle management and stuff that you have to put in there because people are always coming back and forth. Oh, I don't like that link, or can you change this, or can you change that? So I would say having a link building service can be quite stressful and probably not as profitable as running a good affiliate website, if I'm being honest. So going down the affiliate route is a lot less stress-free as well, and long-term probably more profitable as well. A lot of people don't realise when you've got a link building service of all the overheads you've got. As I say, every single link, even if I was to, we use Pitchbox and stuff and we do outreach. We outreach and a guy says, yeah, I'll give you a link. He wants 40 or 50 bucks for that link placement, or depending on the metrics and stuff, so even though we are paying out for Pitchbox, paying someone to do the outreach, then paying the guy to place the link, paying for that content. It's just money, 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 money all the time. So that's, just be careful. Anyone that does want to get into link building services, it's not as profitable as you might think.
You've invested all this kind of money and you've started the project. How long do you need to wait before it becomes really profitable and you return your investment?
I normally sit on a project for I'm trying to get out within 6 or 9 months. And again, I'll explain the reasons why. So if I invest money into something, I want out in 6 to 9 months. Now, obviously the buyer wants to see consistent earnings for 6 to 9 months, but also I've been in a position where I've invested quite a lot of money into a project, and then something like that fucking last December update comes out and slams your fucking website. So you need to get in and out at the same time, because Google, you could work really well and have that, needle moving upwards. And then boom, an update comes out and you're fucked. And then you have to, fiddle about and get it all working again and then flip it. So I'm trying to get in and out before Google does any funky updates and just get my money, because it's a kind of gamble. You're just like, how far will I take it? And then just get your money and run. Because that's the problem we've got when you're buying and flipping websites, is you need to try and get it up as fast as you can without a Google update coming and slamming it. And I think many people who do affiliate will have felt a massive impact from that December update. And typically, there were, Google have slammed a lot of websites that had low quality content, no persona around about them, just crappy websites. And a lot of those are affiliate websites. These websites don't have great personas. They don't have great PR. They don't have any authority. And I think that's why a lot of affiliate websites in the past went belly up, with that the December update that came on there. So again, you've also got that to think about in your mind, is just get out before a fucking another update comes and get your money and run. So, because what's working now, that might change by this time next year. So slamming content and links might change. You might have to do a whole bunch of other stuff, in 6 months' time or whatever. So I think that's why you have to try and get in and out as quickly as you possibly can, while you're still getting, the needle moving in the right direction.
Do you have some funny affiliate story in your experience that you can share, that perhaps were some circumstances that were negative and you driven out positive, or anything or you expected you'll earn lots of money, but it didn't happen?
I don't know if there's any funny stories as such. I've had a few weird niches like anal bleaching cream, but people might find that funny. But I've not had any kind of. I've had lots of niches where I thought I was going to make a lot of money, like the women's clothes niche. Oh, this is quite a funny story, actually. So the women's clothes niche, that wasn't affiliate though. We had the stock, so it was going to be e-commerce. But I'll tell you the story anyway. So we bought all these women's clothes and all that stuff. Now, my wife picked some and I picked some. Just garbage, basically. I have no taste in anything at all. Like I just wear random t-shirts and shorts. That's me. So anyway, I bought all these clothes, and we started to get sales. The SEO and stuff started to kick in, and we actually sold a lot of these, which I thought were just proper women's clothes, to transvestites. Now, if you don't know what a transvestite is, where you're from, it's obviously a guy dressing up as a woman, cross-dresser, transvestite, whatever. Now, obviously, it was a man that now wants to be a woman in one way or another. And so we would have, like, say, size 7 high heels. So we would send them out, and we would get the thing, and it would say, like, Dave, whatever, and his address. So we'd post them high heels out or whatever. And Big Dave would put the high heels on and say, and then send a message back saying, I'm sending them back. Like, they're not a size 7. And we're like, they are a size 7. And we were getting a lot of that, get people complaining that the sizes weren't the sizes, but we actually found it was like men trying on a size 7 high heels. But these guys don't understand, like, women are not built exactly the same way as men. You know, women probably have slimmer feet or whatever, and slightly different body shapes and stuff. But these guys were like trying to try these boots on and these dresses on and all that, and they're like, man, this is not size 12, or whatever. So we had a lot of returns from blokes. You know, and don't ask me why, because we didn't target that particular audience, but it seemed to be, we did get a lot of returns, but it was from guys that were trying on the stuff and we're just like, oh man, like this guy's returning these high heels and these big fat hairy feet, you know, have been in them, and you're just like, bleh. So that's quite a fun story, I think.
That was you who chose all the clothes, yeah?
Yeah, my wife blames me. So I was like, get some of them, get some of them, get some of them. And she was like, no one's going to buy this shit. And I'm like, nah, they will. And believe it or not, a lot of the stuff that I actually picked sold the best. Don't ask me why, right? But we had these like white knee-high boots, like big leather, high-heeled knee-high boots. And I don't know why, I just bought them. I'm like, man, they look quite cool, buy them. So we bought them. They sold out, bang, bang, bang. But every single pair that we had sold to a bloke, to a guy. So, man, and then we couldn't get any more in. So they were like, yeah, can we get more? Can we get this? Can we get that? And we couldn't get any more of them. But white leather knee-high boots were the best choice I've ever made in terms of, and my wife was like, no one is going to buy them. And I'm like, nah, they will. So, yeah, I picked a lot of that stuff.
Good niche. Good niche, by the way. And the last one, but not the least, what is your tip? For example, a guy makes a website, affiliate website, they've made content, they've made some links, and nothing happens. The site's not returning what they expected. What can they do? Anything where they can look at that can move the needle?
If you do a load of work, build a lot of links, build a lot of content, and you've done what you consider to be good on page, come and see me and I'll buy the website from you. That's the best tip. No, I'm only kidding. You know, you've got to analyze your website. People get impatient. You know, if you're doing the job properly and the content's unique, the content's good, you've checked it with Surfer or POP or something like that, and you're building links to that, there's no reason why you won't get the results that you want. One, you might fail because you're impatient and you want to make lots of money within a 2 or 3 month period. That doesn't always happen. Can be slightly slower depending on your luck and various other factors. But two, you know, you've got to remember that when you're adding content, again, a lot of people add a lot of content and there's not a lot of power. So you've got to make sure that you're powering up your inner pages on your website with links as well. Again, when I see people and they're like, yeah, this website's not going as well as expected, you're just like, well, you've slammed every link with a branded anchor right at your homepage. Like, what's going on here? What happened to diversity and stuff? So again, I find this SEO and affiliate fairly easy. You know, you've got to do good on page, you've got to have a nice looking website, and you've got to build good links. There's nothing more, nothing less to do. But people always overcomplicate it in their head or expect it to happen too quick. They don't have good internal links. They don't compare the content to that of the competition. All I would say to anyone is compare your website to those who are winning. And by those who are winning, I mean the guys that are in the top 10 search results on Google. And from there, if you do what they're doing, both on page and off page, you won't be far away. And if you think that you have done that, maybe get another SEO to look at it, because I can guarantee you that you haven't. You know, it's as simple as that. People are always looking, you know, for advice and stuff, but they've not done the basics properly. And I think so many people very often miss the basics from SEO, and they focus more. They're like, yeah, man, I've done all this SEO and my website loads in 0.6 seconds. And you're like, but you've no fucking content on there. Like, what? Like, how can you expect this to make money? So I think you've just got to do the basics properly. It's not difficult. You just got to spend the right money, the right time, the right effort on it, and you will make money. Make no mistake.
You have lots of information that you share on your YouTube channel, which is by far one of the best ones out there on SEO and affiliate and everything around that. I will share it. You can see it on the screen and in the description also.
I appreciate that. Yeah, give me a subscribe, guys, and watch the videos. We do live Q&A sessions twice a week, and always trying to add new content. So if something changes or whatever, or if there's an amazing new tool out there, you're likely to find it on there.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.